Good afternoon. You're welcome once again. We continue our study on World History 1, the ancient history. Last time I was talking about Alexander the Great. I intentionally went into that because it flow along with the time of the Greeks. So when I'm through with this, I'll go back to some other major empires that we left behind. Now, when Alexander the Great set out on his ambition to conquer the world, he left with just few soldiers, about 30,000 infantry and 4,000 cavalry. And all the food they had with the soldiers will only last them for 30 days. And in fact, he was even indebted. He was owing almost $20 in today's calculation at that time. So his aides were worried. And they asked him and said, Your Majesty, why venturing into this? You see, you can become the king of Macedonia. You can rule over the whole of Greece and you will be living in plenty, even with your age will be enjoying and all that. But why do you want to just struggle and suffer? But he told them that is what he is living for. So they had nothing to say than to follow him. So they began the exploration. They fought the Battle of Gracious River in 334 BC. He won. He was able to cross the river like lightning. And people were amazed to an extent that they began to doubt whether he was actually a human being. Then at the Battle of Issus in 333 BC, he still fought and won. Battle of Gaugamela, he still won in 332 BC. And then after that, he went to Tyre. But Tyre was a place where Nebuchadnezzar had fought before. And the people of Tyre relocated from where they were, moved into the sea on an island and built a new city there. And so Nebuchadnezzar left them and went away that time. So when Alexander got there, he saw that they needed a lot of manpower because they needed to carry debris and fill the sea to be able to pass to where the new Tyre was. And so he sent information to all the nations all around to gather and help him so that they will be able to do that job and they will be able to conquer Tyre. And he also said that any nation that refused to come will be destroyed. Now, the nation of Israel in Jerusalem refused to go. And so those who went and eventually he conquered. So when he conquered, he now said that every nation that was invited but refused to come will be destroyed. And the first on the list was Jerusalem. And so he told the people of Jerusalem that he was coming to destroy them. And so getting this information, the children of Israel were in confusion, they were troubled, and they didn't know what to do. They cried to the high priest and the whole nation because they knew that Alexander had never lost a battle. And since he had never lost a battle, that means he will not lose this one. And so the nation of Israel was in turmoil. And Alexander also was so enraged, he was so angry that how can, with that level of insolence and how can I call you and you refuse to come? So he told his aides, his soldiers and all his generals that they were going to destroy Israel completely. In fact, he gave them an instruction. He said, we will not return until we make sure no one is standing there. And he also gave them an instruction. He said, I'm going to lead. And whatever you see me doing there, you continue to do immediately. So the nation of Israel was in a state of confusion. But the high priest prayed to God. And Yahweh of Israel instructed them and said, no problem. On the day that Alexander will come, let all the Nethinists dress up. Let all the singers dress up. Let all the Levites dress up. Let all the priests dress up. And then arrange yourself in a ceremonial procession. Let the high priest be in front. Dress up in your ceremonial garment and go and meet Alexander. No weapon nothing. Just be singing, be praising the Yahweh of Israel. So the day came, the children of Israel were lining up. Alexander was riding on elephant with his soldiers, generals, coming with fury to destroy Israel completely. And the children of Israel also lined up behind the high priest. They were singing unto God, praising his names, and worshiping him. Kibi Adonai, Kibi Adonai. So they were worshiping him. And when they got to a place, both of them met. When both of them met, Alexander was coming with fury. And suddenly, he stopped, climbed down from the elephant, and prostrated before the high priest. And he had already given instruction before that whatever you see me do, all of you should do. So all the generals follow suit. All the soldiers follow suit. So the old soldiers of Alexander were all on the floor before the high priest of God, and they were still praising the Yahweh of Israel. That was the first day people saw that Alexander was a man, because he had never bowed to anything before. When he eventually got up, he said, because his generals were confused, say, Your Majesty, what is going on here? He said, in the night, somebody spoke to me. His voice is like a rushing of mighty waters. And he told me that he is the first, he is the last, he is the Alpha, he is the Omega, he is the beginning, he is the end. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we still use Alpha and Omega till today. They are Greek alphabet. So he told me he's the Alpha, he's the Omega. And he told me that nobody becomes great without his permission. That is the one who lift up one and bring down another. That even me, Alexander the Great, whatever I am today, he is the one who made me to be. And he showed me the picture of this man pointing to the high priest. He said, this is my representative. He said, so as I was coming today, as I saw the picture of this man, I remember that dream. So I am not bowing to him. I bow to that great voice. I bow to that great person who has decorated this man like this, who this man represents. And then the high priest ordered for a copy of Torah and prophecies and show Alexander the Great from the book of Daniel how God has spoken, prophecies have spoken about him. And Alexander, instead of fighting, followed the children of Israel back to the temple and worshiped the God of the Jews. And he made it a tradition every year to come back to worship the God of the Jews. So that's a very interesting story about Alexander the Great. And then Alexander also gave us a lot of lessons. One of it is he was a very disciplined person. Very, very disciplined. As a very handsome prince, the leader of his known world, he made sure that he was not sleeping with women they were conquering in war. In fact, he used to even cover his face, especially when they were fighting Persians. Persian ladies were reputed to be the most beautiful ladies in the world. And so Alexander was covering his face from seeing them. He said, if we give our strength to women, we will not attain our greatness that we are looking for. And so that was the type of person that he was. So he disciplined himself. He was not drinking alcohol. He was not messing around with women. He was just that very simple, focused person. And so Alexander was able to conquer the then world, the world that he knew. Of course, there were nations that he didn't conquer, but they were not known at that time. It was later they got to know there were other people here and there. But from the known world, he conquered the whole world as a young man at the age of 30. Now, having conquered the world, there was nowhere to go again. And so frustration set in. He began to do those things he was not doing before, like drinking. And in the course of drinking, he killed his uncle. And so he became depressed, coupled with malaria, before he eventually died. Before he died, he got married to one of the daughters of Darius the Seventh, and they had a son who also died, who had died, so that the prophecy will be fulfilled that Alexander has no heir, nobody to inherit his kingdom. So, but before he died, he left the world with philosophy, which has been a blessing up to this day. On his sickbed, he told his generals, when I die, call the best doctors in Greece to carry my casket, and then all the properties that belong to me, pour them on the ground between my house and the grave. And finally, when you cover me, don't cover my two hands. And they asked him, Your Majesty, what is the meaning of this? He said, I want the best doctors of Greece to carry me so that the world will know that when death comes, the best doctors are useless. Number two, I want you to put all my properties on the ground, not up to my grave, so that the whole world will know that irrespective of what we acquire, when death comes, we are not going to the grave with anything. And finally, open my hands when you bury me, so that the world will learn that the man who conquered the whole world left the world empty-handed. So that's the story of one of the greatest men that ever lived. He died, and his generals, Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and Seleucus, share his kingdoms among themselves in fulfillment of prophecies as contained in the book of Daniel. So that was the end of Alexander the Great. In the next class, we will move on to look at the Middle Eastern empires of Asia, of Assyrian, Babylon, and the rest in that axis. Thank you.